Imagine sitting in a crowded, softly lit coffee shop on a rainy afternoon. You reach down, pick up a white ceramic mug, and just as your fingers wrap around the warm porcelain, the entire universe suddenly freezes. A heavy, suffocating wave of absolute certainty washes over your brain. You know exactly how the steam is curling off the coffee. You know the precise laugh the person at the next table is about to let out. You know that 3 seconds from now, a stray drop of rain is going to slide down the window pane to your left. You have been here before. You have lived this exact, hyper specific second of time already. Except, you haven't. You are thousands of miles away from home. You have never stepped foot in the city in your entire life. You don't even like coffee. Yet every neuron in your head is screaming that you are trapped inside a living, breathing rerun of your own existence. This is the psychological labyrinth known as déjà vu. Almost 80% of the human population has felt this sudden, reality-bending jolt. We treat it like a minor, slightly spooky mental glitch, a funny little campfire story. But when you strip away the casual surface level, you find yourself staring into one of the most terrifying, high-stakes mysteries of neuroscience. For centuries, science couldn't explain it. So the human mind did what it does best. It panicked. And then it filled the void with wild existential theories. Are we catching a fleeting glimpse of a past life? Is your consciousness accidentally colliding with a parallel universe where a different version of you did sit in this chair? Or wait, is it proof that our reality is nothing more than a giant digital simulation, and we just witnessed a heavy lag code in the matrix? The truth is actually much more terrifying than a computer glitch. Because when modern cognitive scientists finally figured out how to force the human brain to experience déjà vu on demand inside a laboratory, they pulled back the curtain on a deeply unsettling reality. Your brain isn't showing you the past. It is actively lying to you about the present. And to understand how it pulls off this deep psychological trick, we have to look at the way your mind handles its most precious commodity: real estate. To understand the architecture of a mental illusion, you first have to realize that you do not live in the present moment. You live in a beautifully edited, delayed broadcast. Every single piece of data entering your head right now, the sound of my voice, the light hitting your eyes, the physical pressure of the chair beneath you, is nothing more than raw electrical signals racing along organic wires. Under normal circumstances, your brain acts like a flawless, high-speed director in a live television control room. It takes the video feed from your left eye, matches it perfectly with the right eye, stitches the audio from your ears over the top, and broadcasts the finished, synchronized movie into your conscious mind. It happens so fast it feels instant. But here is where the first "wait, what" moment of neuroscience fractures your reality. Your brain has two completely distinct pathways for processing the world. There is the fast track, which handles raw, unconscious data, and the slightly slower, analytical track that translates those shapes into meaningful thoughts. Think of it like a massive logistical warehouse. One delivery truck drops off the raw, unlabeled boxes at the back door, while a second team opens the boxes, labels the inventory, and puts it on the store shelves. But what happens when the warehouse system breaks down? What happens if the raw data truck gets a sudden burst of adrenaline and arrives a fraction of a millisecond before the labeling team is ready? This is the core of the famous dual processing theory. If one pathway in your neurological network experiences a microscopic, subatomic delay, perhaps due to a brief drop in blood sugar, a lack of deep sleep, or a sudden spike in stress, the brain receives the exact same sensory information twice. The first wave slips into your subconscious completely unnoticed, but a fraction of a millisecond later, the second wave hits your conscious mind. Your brain looks at the scene, panics because it realizes it already has a copy of this exact memory sitting in the warehouse, and instantly creates the terrifying illusion that you are reliving the past. You aren't remembering an old life. You are literally remembering a present moment that you lived through a millisecond ago. But as comforting as that sounds, this theory has a massive, glaring flaw. If déjà vu is just a mechanical timing error between your eyes and your brain, then why on earth do completely blind people experience hyper-intense versions of déjà vu too? The moment you remove sight from the equation, the timing delay theory completely falls apart. Blind individuals report experiencing the exact same suffocating sense of familiarity through touch, sound, and smell alone. This forced researchers to abandon the eyeballs and dig deep into the dark, damp basement of human memory: the hippocampus. Inside your temporal lobe sits a tiny horseshoe-shaped structure that functions as the absolute head librarian of your life. Every experience you have ever had is filed away by the hippocampus like a book on a shelf. When you walk into a brand new environment, your brain immediately opens up a program called Gestalt Familiarity. It scans the geometry of the room, the color palettes, the ambient noises, and checks them against the library card catalog to see if you have ever been here before. But human memory is not a pristine digital hard drive. It is a messy, blurred watercolor painting. Imagine you visited a very specific, old hospital waiting room when you were 5 years old. You completely forgot about it. Decades later, you walk into a trendy modern tech startup office in a foreign country. On the surface, the two places look entirely different. But beneath the surface, the geometric layout is identical. The angle of the reception desk, the placement of the potted plants, and the specific hum of the fluorescent lights match the forgotten hospital perfectly. Your brain recognizes the underlying structural skeleton of the room. It tries to pull up the original memory of the hospital, but the file is corrupted and buried too deep. Instead of showing you the picture of the hospital, your hippocampus misfires. It flags the current room as a match, sending an intense, false signal of familiarity flooding into your prefrontal cortex. Cognitive scientists call this the memory mismatch hypothesis. You are experiencing the ghostly shadow of an old, forgotten memory overlapping with a new reality. Think about the sheer irony of that. While you are standing there feeling like a prophetic time traveler who can predict the future, your brain is actually just failing a basic open-book history test. But let's escalate the stakes. If déjà vu is just a harmless, quirky little library error in the brain, why does it occasionally turn into a horrific, permanent nightmare that pushes people to the absolute brink of insanity? To truly understand how fragile your perception of time is, we have to look at what happens when the déjà vu engine gets completely stuck in the on position. In the annals of neurology, there are rare, terrifying cases of individuals who suffer from a chronic condition known as déjà vécu, which literally translates to already lived. For these individuals, the feeling isn't a fleeting 3-second jolt. It is a continuous, unbroken state of existence. Imagine waking up every single morning, looking at the headline of the newspaper, and being absolutely convinced you already read that exact paper yesterday. You watch a brand new movie at the cinema, and you get furious because you are certain you already saw every single scene. You meet a stranger on the street, and you know with total conviction that you have had this exact conversation before. This isn't a minor memory quirk anymore. It is a catastrophic psychological prison. People suffering from chronic déjà vécu stop watching television. They stop reading books. They refuse to go out to eat because they feel trapped in an endless, suffocating loop of a life they have already completed. When doctors scan the brains of these patients, they don't find parallel universes or matrix codes. They find microdegenerative damage in the circuits that connect the memory centers to the reality-checking centers of the prefrontal cortex. Normally, when your brain generates a false feeling of familiarity, your prefrontal cortex steps in like a rational adult, looks around and says, "Hey, that's impossible. We've never been to Paris before. Calm down." But when that reality check wire is severed, the false feeling of the past completely overwrites the reality of the present. This brings us to a chilling realization. Our entire concept of time, our absolute certainty that yesterday came before today, and today comes before tomorrow, is held together by a couple of microscopic organic wires in our head. If those wires fray even a little bit, the straight line of time instantly collapses into a chaotic, looping circle. But wait. There is still one final puzzle piece we haven't touched. The biggest, most expectation-shattering reveal of the déjà vu phenomenon. If déjà vu is just a simple memory mistake or a reality-checking error, then why does it almost always come wrapped in a profound, eerie sense of prophecy? It is a beautiful, chilling proof that your perception of reality is not a passive recording of the world. It is an incredibly complex, fragile act of active creation. The line between absolute sanity and complete temporal chaos is only a fraction of a millisecond wide. So, the next time you are sitting somewhere completely mundane, and the universe suddenly freezes around you, don't panic. You aren't slipping through a crack in the matrix, and you aren't reliving an ancient life. You are simply watching your brain drop its keys, scramble to pick them up, and struggle to keep up with the terrifying velocity of time. Have you ever had a déjà vu moment so intense it genuinely made you question reality? Drop your stories in the comments below. If this quick trip into the glitches of the human mind brought a little wonder to your room today, go ahead and leave a like, share this with someone who loves a good mystery, and subscribe to join us for our next deep dive into the unknown. Until next time. Stay grounded, stay incredibly curious, and remember to watch the clock.